I used to think my life was simple. I would wake up, go to work, come home tired but hopeful, and fall asleep knowing tomorrow would look the same. I liked that routine. I liked the quiet. I liked believing that the people I loved would never hurt me. Especially Meher. She was the one person I trusted more than anything. I thought she saw me the way I saw her. I thought we were safe together. I feel like everything is finally settling, I remember telling her one night. Like life is finally calm. She laughed softly and touched my arm. Calm is good, Armin. You deserve calm. I held those words close. I didn't know they would turn into a knife later. Tonight, when I pushed open my front door, I was still smiling from something that happened at work. I was about to call out Meher's name, but then I heard it, her voice. Light. Whispering. Too soft for casual talk. I froze, thinking maybe she was on the phone. But then I heard another voice. Adil. My stomach tightened. What the hell? I whispered to myself. I took one step toward the hallway, then another, my heart beat loud in my ears. The door to the bedroom was half closed. I could see a thin line of light on the floor. I heard them laughing. Laughing. Does he really not suspect anything? Adil's voice came through. Meher giggled, a sound I used to love. Armin? No. He never asks anything. He just trusts. Adil laughed again. Poor guy. My breath caught. I pressed my hand against the wall to steady myself. Why are they talking like that? I whispered. I swear he tries so hard, Meher said. It's almost cute. But sometimes it gets exhausting pretending. My chest burned. I wanted to walk in, shout, demand answers. But I couldn't move. I just stood there, listening like a ghost in my own home. You should have told him already, Adil said. He'll find out eventually. I know, she sighed. But I can't deal with his reaction right now. He'll break. I felt my throat close. Break. They were discussing breaking me like it was a small inconvenience. Adil spoke again. Just tell him you're done. He'll cry a bit and then get over it. Meher laughed softly. Maybe. I shut my eyes. I felt something inside me twist, something deep and painful. Is this real? I muttered. Is she really saying this? I stepped back, trying to breathe. My hands shook. My legs felt weak. I wasn't sure if I wanted to run or walk in and face them. Then I heard Adil's voice drop to a whisper. He's nothing like us, Meher. You and I understand each other. He's simple. Simple. The word hit me harder than anything else. I know, she said quietly. I swallowed hard. Why? I said under my breath. Why would you say that? For a moment I thought about leaving. Maybe they would come out and see the door open. Maybe they would realize I knew. Maybe that would be enough punishment. But something inside me cracked. A slow, burning anger started to rise, mixing with shame and pain until I didn't know what to feel anymore. I finally stepped back again and whispered, this is it. This is the moment everything changes. My world didn't fall apart in a loud explosion. It didn't break with shouting or confrontation. It broke in silence, with two people laughing behind a half-closed door, talking about me like I was nothing. I backed away from the door, every step feeling heavier than the last. My chest hurt. My eyes stung. But I didn't cry. Not yet. I just breathed slowly and whispered, I'm done being blind. The person I was, trusting, hopeful, soft, started fading. Something colder took its place. I didn't know what would happen next. But I knew this night would stay with me forever. It would shape everything that came after. It would become the moment that destroyed the man I used to be and forced me into someone I never planned to become. And I felt a new cold quiet rising inside me. I stepped into the room, and the moment their eyes met mine, something inside me collapsed. Meher looked at me like I was a stranger, and Adil wore that smug half-smile that made my stomach twist. I felt my hands shaking, but I still managed to whisper, so this is real? Meher didn't even blink. Why are you talking like that? She said, her voice calm, almost bored, as if my presence was an interruption. I took a shaky breath. I heard everything. Every word. And you both acted like I'm some joke. Adil chuckled softly. Man, you're blowing this out of proportion. We were just talking. Talking? I said, my voice breaking. You called me simple. You said I'd cry and move on. Is that talking? Meher crossed her arms, and that small gesture cut deeper than any word. Armin, stop twisting things. You always overreact. My throat tightened. Overreact? I'm standing in front of you after hearing you both laugh at me like I'm worthless. Adil leaned back slightly. Look, you weren't supposed to hear that. But now that you did, what do you want? An apology? I want the truth, I said. I want to know why the two people I trusted most treated me like I was nothing. Meher let out a tired breath. Because you don't listen. Because you hold on too tightly. Because you expect too much from people. I expected honesty, I whispered. I expected loyalty. Was that too much? Adil shrugged. You live in your own little world, man. You think love means devotion. It doesn't. Something inside me cracked at that. So what did I mean to you, Meher? I said. Just someone to tolerate? She didn't hesitate. You were comfortable. That's it. The words hit me so hard I felt the floor tilt. Then I guess there's nothing left to say. Finally, Adil muttered. Just go, man. I turned and walked out, my legs barely holding me up. The night air hit my face like icy water, but it didn't wake me from the numbness swallowing me whole. I kept walking until I reached a quiet corner of the street. I sat on the curb, pressed my hands against my face and tried to breathe. How did I let this happen? I whispered. How did I not see who they were? Every memory stabbed at me, every smile, every promise, every moment I thought I belonged somewhere. Now all of it felt like a lie I forced myself to believe. I can't be that person anymore, I said. I can't stay soft and hope people won't hurt me. Something dark whispered inside me, quiet but steady. It told me that if I wanted to survive, I needed to change. I needed to let the old me die. I lowered my hands and stared at the empty road ahead. So this is who I was to them, I said softly. Someone replaceable. Someone easy to discard. The wind brushed past me like a whisper I didn't want to hear. Maybe they were right, I muttered. Maybe I really was blind. But then another voice rose inside me, sharper, colder. No, I said. I wasn't blind. I was loyal. I cared. And they used that. I leaned back against the cold wall behind me, letting the night silence press against my ears. I won't let this happen again, I whispered. I won't let anyone make me feel this small again. The thought felt strange on my tongue, stronger, heavier than anything I had ever said. If I have to change to survive, then I will, I said. If I have to let parts of myself die, then so be it. I stood slowly, feeling the weight inside me settle into something solid. This pain won't control me, I murmured. I'll use it. I'll turn it into something that protects me instead of destroying me. The words felt raw, but they felt true. I looked at the empty street, the place where my old self had finally cracked. This is where I start over, I whispered. This is where I become someone who won't ever be crushed again. Then I stepped forward into the dark alone. When I returned home the next morning, I felt like I was walking into a world I no longer recognized. Everything looked the same, the hallway, the old rug, the sunlight on the wall, but something inside me had changed so violently that nothing felt familiar anymore. I tried to breathe, but even the air felt heavy. Emmy looked up from the stove. You didn't sleep at home, she said softly. Where were you, Beta? I was out, I replied, forcing my voice to stay steady. Out where? Abba asked, lowering his newspaper. You look pale. What happened? Nothing happened, I said quickly, pulling out a chair. I'm fine. Amy sat across from me, studying my face. No, you're not. Your eyes, something is wrong. Tell me. There's nothing to tell, I muttered. Please, Amy. Not right now. She placed a hand on my arm. You're shaking. I said I'm fine, I snapped, immediately regretting it. Sorry? I just need a minute. Abba folded his newspaper slowly. Did you fight with someone? No. Did someone hurt you? No. Then talk to us, he insisted. Silence is not strength, Armin. I looked away. If I opened my mouth, everything inside me would spill out like broken glass. I couldn't let them see me like this. Please, Amy whispered. At least eat something. I'll try, I whispered back, though swallowing felt impossible. We sat quietly. The sounds of breakfast, plates, cups, the ticking clock, felt distant. I tried to hide the storm twisting inside me, but I could feel it rising, dark and uncontrollable. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. Armin, Amy said again, did Meher say something to you? My heart lurched, but I forced my face blank. No. She sighed. I don't believe you. I pressed my hands together to keep them still. I can't talk about it. Abba exhaled deeply. Whatever it is, running from it won't fix it. I'm not running, I said. I'm just tired. Amy reached for my hand again. We're here, Beta. I nodded but said nothing. Words felt useless. Later, when I stepped outside to clear my head, I heard voices near the corner of the street. Familiar voices. I froze behind a parked car. Did you hear? Meher's voice floated through the air. He showed up at my house last night, crying like a child. Adil laughed. I told you he'd lose it. He can't even handle a joke, let alone real life. It was embarrassing, Meher added. He's so desperate now. I almost felt bad. Almost, Adil repeated mockingly. People should know what he's like. My chest tightened. Meher continued, if anyone asks, just say he's unstable. That he's been acting strange for weeks. Oh, definitely, Adil replied. I'll make sure everyone hears it. My breath caught. Every word stabbed deeper than the betrayal itself. A neighbor walked past them. What are you two talking about? Meher answered instantly, oh, nothing. Just worried about Armin. He's been struggling. Adil added, keep an eye on him. He might do something stupid. The neighbor nodded sympathetically. Poor boy. I felt the ground shift under my feet. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was destruction. Public, deliberate, cruel. I stepped back quietly and walked away before they could see me. My heart was pounding, but inside I felt nothing, just a strange emptiness spreading through me like cold ink in water. How could they? I whispered to myself. How could they do this? Images flashed in my mind, our memories, our laughs, the trust one once carried like a shield. Now it all felt like a joke at my expense. When I reached home, I leaned against the door and closed my eyes. They're going to ruin me, I said under my breath. Completely. A thought flickered in the darkness inside me. A new version of myself, sharp, quiet, unfamiliar, stirred awake. If I stay like this, I whispered, they'll crush me. The softness in me, the version that forgave too easily, trembled. I can't be that person anymore. The storm inside me twisted, shaping itself into something harder. No more weakness, I said, barely recognizing my own voice. Not this time. For the first time, the darkness didn't scare me. It felt like a promise. A promise that I would not let them destroy me. A promise that I would change. And I felt myself stepping toward that new, dangerous version of me, one breath at a time. I stopped picking up their calls one morning and didn't even flinch when messages piled up. Meher's name flashed on my screen again, but I let it go. She'll get used to silence, I muttered to myself. Adil's texts were worse. Short, biting, demanding attention. I ignored them all. Armin? Are you even there? Meher's voice came through on the voicemail. It sounded small, unsure. I sat on my bed and pressed my thumbs to my eyes. Not today, I whispered. Days went by and their irritation became almost audible. I could sense it when I met them briefly at work or on the street. Meher's eyes flicked toward me, full of questions she couldn't voice. Adil's jaw tightened, his usual arrogance cracked just enough to show frustration. At the office, Rehan leaned against the desk beside mine, smirking. You look different. I'm just surviving, I said, not looking up. He laughed. Surviving? No. You're leveling up. I paused. Leveling up? Confidence, control, power, he said, eyes sharp. I can teach you. But only if you're ready to stop letting people mess with your head. I glanced at him, skeptical. And why would you care? Because, he said, leaning closer, I like seeing someone fight back. And you? You've been fighting yourself far too long. That evening I stayed late. Rehan didn't leave either. We went over reports, deadlines, strategies. His way of pushing me wasn't gentle. Speak up. Own the room, he'd say, cutting off my half-formed sentence. Power Armin. Say it like you mean it. I tried. My first attempts were shaky, uneven, almost embarrassing. I think we should, I started once. No, he interrupted, sharply but encouragingly. Say it like you command it. Try again. I believe we should prioritize the Smith account this week, I said, louder, firmer. Rehan nodded, approving. Better. Louder next time. Confidence doesn't whisper. Every day I carried that lesson with me. My body, my posture, my tone, it all changed. I could feel control settling into my bones. Meanwhile, Meher and Adil were visibly fraying. Rumors drifted to me, arguments, small betrayals, doubts they didn't even hide. I let the information slide past. No reaction. Silence became my weapon, sharper than words, heavier than anger. One evening I ran into Meher outside a cafe. Her face tightened when she saw me. Armin, she said softly. I smiled faintly, coldly. Meher. She opened her mouth, hesitated, then closed it. I turned and walked away. No explanations. No softness. At work, Rehan caught me after a meeting. See? You're untouchable now. That silence? That's armor. I laughed, A short, dry sound. It feels good. Good, he said. It feels powerful. And you're learning to hide it. I can't let them see me, I said, thinking of Meher, Adil, every wasted tear and second of anger. They'll pull me down if they notice weakness. Exactly, Rehan said. Control is everything. And you? You're finally in charge of it. I realized he was right. I hadn't felt this calm, this untouchable in years. I was building myself while they stumbled in their small cracks. Adil's name came up again in rumors. He'd snapped at Meher, stormed out of their apartment over some petty fight. I smiled inwardly. Not satisfaction, not revenge. Observation. My silence was doing the work I didn't have to. Even at home, I practiced the control Rehan drilled into me: straight spine, steady voice, slow measured breathing. My emotions were my tools now, not my chains. Meher and Adil continued flailing. My phone remained silent. My mind sharp. My presence commanding. My past fears? Buried under careful preparation, under cold, deliberate self-rebuilding. And for the first time in a long time, I felt untouchable. Months passed. I didn't look back once. My reflection became someone I barely recognized. Taller, straighter, calmer, colder. When I finally stepped back into the world outside my apartment, the air felt different. Sharp, clean, like I belonged to it now. I spotted Meher outside a cafe, her hands frozen around a cup of coffee. She didn't move when she saw me. Her eyes widened, disbelief crashing through the careful mask she always wore. Armin, she whispered, almost afraid to speak. I kept walking, slow and deliberate, letting her panic settle over her like ice. No smile. No greeting. Just the click of my shoes against the pavement. Wait, Armin, stop. Adil's voice cut through the street noise. He ran up, trying to catch my attention. I didn't turn. Not even a glance. My silence weighed heavier than any insult. Armin, come on, man. Talk to me, he called again, desperation creeping in. I tightened my jaw. Nothing. I walked past him like he was a shadow, my mind focused elsewhere. The chaos of their small world was no longer my concern. Inside the cafe, I noticed her first before she noticed me. Sir. She looked up from her laptop, eyebrows lifting when she saw me hesitate at the entrance. She smiled, small but genuine. Hi, she said, voice soft but steady. You look different. I blinked at her, caught off guard. I've been working on myself, I replied, unsure why I even said anything. That shows, she said simply, closing her laptop. Confidence, I guess. Come. You carry it well. I didn't respond immediately. Usually, someone like her would be curious, nosy, or judgmental. She was neither. She just observed. And that felt strange. You're not like the others, are you? She asked quietly. I let a smirk tug at my lips, tiny but deliberate. Not anymore. She tilted her head, studying me with curiosity rather than fear or desire. Good. I don't do games. I laughed softly. I don't either. The sound startled me. It felt light after months of silence and tension. We ordered drinks and somehow conversation started. Not about trivial things, not about work or gossip. Just words that mattered. So, she said after a pause, what happened to you? You seem changed. Like someone built you from the inside out. I shook my head. I'm not built for explanations. Not for now. Her gaze didn't falter. I get that. But still, people don't just become untouchable without something breaking them first. I swallowed, letting her words pass. There was truth there, more than I wanted to admit. Maybe I just learned how to survive, I said, voice lower. She smiled softly. Maybe. Or maybe you just learned how to see who's worth your energy. Her insight hit harder than I expected. I wanted to say something, anything, but instead I leaned back, observing her. Calm. Curious. Not dangerous, not manipulative. Outside, I caught glimpses of my old life. Meher still watched from the street, her face a mixture of shock and something like regret. Adil lingered too, hands fidgeting, eyes pleading. My silence had reached them before I even spoke. I like listening to people who don't hide their scars, Sarah said suddenly. You don't have to tell me yours. Not yet. I met her eyes. Something inside me stirred, a warmth I hadn't felt in months. Something human. But I kept it contained. I'm not ready to trust again, I said quietly. I know, she said, nodding, like she already understood the weight I carried. Take your time. The rest of the world could wait. Meher's manipulations, Adil's desperate words, they were irrelevant now. Silence, control, strength. I had learned it all. And yet, with Sarah, I realized some walls weren't just protection. They were choices, ones I hadn't decided to break. I left the cafe later, feeling the air differently, lighter somehow, even as my past lingered in the street behind me. Sarah's presence was unexpected, but not unwelcome. Something new had entered my life. Something I didn't yet dare call hope. And that was enough for now. My morning started with coffee and emails, not panic or dread. The promotion at work felt like a victory I didn't have to announce. Rayhan clapped me on the shoulder. "Look at you. Finally walking like you own the floor." "I've been working for it," I said, keeping my voice even. "You've been building yourself while everyone else was busy spinning webs." "Smart move," he said. I smiled faintly, letting it slide. The office had become my arena. Control, power, focus, I thrived on it. Outside, life went on. I heard whispers from neighbors, casual mentions from mutual friends. Uncle Nasir's voice, calm and measured, reached me one afternoon. "Armin, I've seen what's happening with them," he said. "Meher, Adil, they're falling apart." "Falling apart?" I asked, voice flat. "Yes. Money issues, jealousy, lies eating at them," he said. You seem untouchable." "I am," I said simply. No pride, no gloating. Just truth. Messages appeared on my phone, Meher's name flashing insistently. I ignored them all. "Armin, please, I need to explain." One read. Another, I don't know what I was thinking. I was wrong. I left them unread. My fingers hovered briefly over the screen before I locked it. That version of me, the one who begged, who fell apart over her, was gone. Rayhan noticed my restraint. "You're colder than ever," he said, half in admiration, half teasing. "I've learned silence speaks louder than words," I replied. Even in the office, rumors reached me. Meher and Adil fought openly, arguments spilling into social media, texts meant to wound, whispers in the corridors of our building. "Did you see what they posted?" someone asked. I nodded, uninterested. "Yes," I said quietly. "It doesn't concern me." Rayhan leaned in. "It must feel good, seeing them unravel without touching you." "It feels neutral," I said. "Not pleasure. Not pain. Acceptance." Days bled into weeks. Meher's attempts escalated. "Armin, I can't do this without you. Please, just one conversation." Another, "I regret everything. I miss what we had. I can't live like this." Nothing. I left them all. Silent, untouchable. Occasionally, Adil tried as well. "Armin, talk to me. Don't do this." I didn't. The words had lost their power. He had lost his control over me long ago. Neighbors whispered in the hallways. "Did you hear? They're breaking apart." I nodded silently when Uncle Nasir updated me. "It's happening," he said. I felt nothing. No gloating. No satisfaction. Only calm acceptance. Life was moving on outside my sphere of influence, and I remained untouched, steady, rebuilt. Even when friends tried to fill me in, the pattern was clear. Meher and Adil spiraling. Money fights, jealousy, trust shattering. I didn't need to be involved. Their chaos no longer belonged to me. One evening, I caught a glimpse of Meher trying to call from the street below my apartment. Her figure paused, as if hoping I would notice, as if her guilt might force me to act. I didn't. I watched until she turned away, shoulders slumping. Rayhan came in, raising an eyebrow. "Still ignoring her?" "Yes," I said simply. "I've built a life where her attempts don't matter." "Must feel freeing," he said. "It does," I admitted. "Freedom is not in revenge or pleasure. It's in detachment. In choosing what touches you and what doesn't." Night fell and I sat at my desk, reviewing the next day's agenda. The messages stayed unread. My reflection in the window showed someone familiar yet new. Someone steady, unmoved, unbothered. I had survived her games. I had survived Adil's desperation. Their collapse was theirs to bear, not mine. I accepted it all with a calmness that surprised even me. No triumph, no bitterness. Just acceptance. And as I closed my laptop, the phone still silent beside me, I realized the truth. The man who once begged, the man who hoped for Meher's love, no longer existed. That version of me was gone. I was something else now. Stronger. Colder. Untouchable. The doorbell rang late, a hesitant, uneven sound. I opened the door to find Meher standing there, eyes swollen and red. Her lips trembled. "Armin." "I didn't know where else to go," she whispered, her voice breaking. I studied her quietly. "You came here?" I said. My voice was calm, neutral. "Yes," she said, taking a small, unsteady step forward. "I had to. I need to apologize. For everything. All the lies, everything I did wrong." I stayed silent. I didn't move. I let her words hang. I hurt you. I hurt everyone, she said, tears rolling freely down her cheeks. I was selfish, blind, stupid. Stop, I said finally, voice low. Not angry, not soft. Just measured. She froze. I can't take it back. I know that. But I had to tell you. I had to. I hear you, I interrupted. And yet, my eyes flicked to hers, seeing the shame, the guilt. But I felt nothing. No anger, no relief, no joy. Just emptiness. She broke down fully then, shaking, clutching her chest as if the pain could be contained inside her. I'm sorry, Armin. I'm so sorry. Meher, I said, soft but firm. It doesn't matter anymore. Your words, your apologies, they don't reach me. She froze again, shock and confusion twisting her face. They don't? No, I said. Not anymore. I'm beyond it. She sank to the floor, sobs rattling her body. I thought I could fix things. I knelt beside her only to place a hand lightly on the doorframe. Not to comfort, not to console. I wasn't there. I wasn't feeling. The strange emptiness inside me had grown over months of silence, of rebuilding myself. Later, Adil tried. He appeared outside the apartment the next day, hesitant, desperate. Armin, wait. Please, man. Let's talk, he said, voice trembling. I didn't look at him. I didn't answer. I walked past him like he wasn't there, the echo of his pleas fading behind me. Armin, he shouted after me. I don't know what to do without you. Nothing. Silence swallowed his words. My past, my weakness, my longing for approval, they were gone. Sarah noticed, of course. She sat with me afterward in the quiet of my apartment, eyes sharp and concerned. You're shutting everything out, she said softly. All of it. Even the chance for something new. I can't let anyone in, I said, voice heavy. Not yet. I'm too broken, too careful. No, she said, shaking her head. You're not broken. You're afraid. But you're also pushing away someone who might understand. Someone who might help. I looked at her, her honesty piercing in a way Meher and Adil never could. And if I fail again? I asked. You won't, she said firmly. Not if you let yourself be human. Not if you let yourself feel. I stayed silent, words lodged in my throat. The emptiness inside me felt like a chasm, but something about Sarah's presence made me pause. Made me consider the other path, the one with warmth, with trust, with connection. I don't know if I can, I admitted finally, voice low. I've been cold for so long. Then start small, she said, smile gentle but unwavering. Let someone in. Just a little. The memory of Meher's guilt, her tears, the emptiness inside me, they all hovered together. I realized I was at a turning point. I could continue down the path of coldness, untouchable, untethered, or I could try something new. Maybe, I said quietly, meeting Sarah's eyes, maybe I'll try. Her smile widened. That's all I ask. One step. I nodded, the strange emptiness still there but tempered now by something fragile. Something unfamiliar. Something worth the risk. For the first time in months I felt a flicker, not of love, not yet, but of possibility. And that flicker felt enough. I catch myself staring in the mirror some mornings, tracing the lines of my face, the set of my jaw. I barely recognized the man looking back at me. Calm, controlled, silent. Sure. Powerful. Rehan noticed it first. You're untouchable, he said one afternoon. But I wonder, do you ever miss him? Who? I asked, smirking lightly. The old you. The one who cried, begged, lost, he said, leaning against my desk. I shook my head. He's gone. Doesn't exist anymore. Yet sometimes at night when everything is quiet, I hear him whispering inside me. The boy who loved Meher too much, who forgave too easily, who let himself be crushed by their games. I see his face, pale, desperate, hands shaking as he tried to hold onto a love that didn't care. Meher's face flashes in my mind, a ghost of what she once was. She's failing now. Friends tell me she argues constantly with Adil, fights over money, trust, jealousy. Their palace of lies is crumbling brick by brick. I hear it and feel nothing. Not satisfaction, not guilt, not even curiosity. Just acknowledgement. Adil is gone now, disappearing from everyone's life. His calls unanswered, messages unread. I know somewhere he wonders if silence can be worse than confrontation. I wonder too, but only as a strategy, not as regret. Sarah is different. She sits across from me in cafes at my apartment, sometimes just walking beside me. You can't keep running from feeling, Armin, she says softly. Even power has limits. I'm not running, I reply, voice measured. I'm controlling. Control is everything. Control keeps people from breaking you. She sighs, leaning back. But at what cost? The man you've become, it's strong, yes, sure. But cold. Cold enough that no one reaches you. Not really. I stare at her, considering. That's the point, I say finally. No one touches me anymore. I decide who has access. I decide who matters. That boy, the weak one, they would have let Meher destroy him. I don't anymore. And does it feel good, she asks quietly, to be untouchable? Sometimes, I admit, and she studies me like she already knows the truth. Sometimes it's intoxicating. That silence, that power, people fear it without me even speaking. That strength. She shakes her head. And that's the curse. I let her words settle. They're right. Power is a lonely place. Control is heavy. Silence can feel like freedom, but it also isolates you from life itself. Memories of who I was swirl in my mind. Late nights crying over messages, begging Meher to stay, excusing lies, losing myself in the hope that she might change. That boy would never survive today. That boy would have destroyed himself with every insult, every betrayal. I'm stronger now, yes. But stronger carries its own cost. I feel it sometimes, a hollow space inside me that nothing fills. I feel Meher's absence, Adil's disappearance, Sarah's careful concern. I feel the temptation to remain cold, silent, untouchable. And yet there is another path. Healing. Connection. Trust. The faintest flicker of warmth that Sarah offers. A chance to be more than just control, more than just revenge. But the temptation of cold mastery is sweet. Dangerous. I admit it to myself reluctantly. I am becoming the man Meher always feared. Strong enough to destroy, cold enough to walk away, silent enough to let karma take its course. I face it alone one night, staring out my window. Do I choose revenge or release? Do I remain untouchable, letting her fall as she deserves? Or do I risk allowing someone new to touch the part of me that still bleeds? Sarah sits beside me, quiet, patient. Whatever you decide, it has to be honest, she says. I know, I reply, voice low, steady. But it's the hardest choice I've ever faced. I close my eyes, breathing in the silence. That emptiness, that control, that cold power, it tempts me. But so does something else, something I haven't felt in a long time, possibility. And in that tension, I finally understand the choice before me. Revenge is easy. Release is harder. And the man staring back at me in the mirror? You will decide. The decision came quietly, without fanfare. No dramatic storm, no sudden epiphany. Just a calm understanding that revenge would chain me to a past I had already survived. I didn't need to destroy Meher. I didn't need to punish Adil. The doorbell rang. I opened it. Meher stood there, trembling, tears streaming freely. Her eyes were swollen, pleading, searching for something I no longer offered. Armin, please, she said, voice breaking. I need you to know I regret everything. I can't undo what I did, but... I held up a hand. Stop, I said softly but firmly. I've heard it all before. I've lived through it all. She shook, trying to speak again. But I cut her off, meeting her gaze evenly. I forgive you, I said, voice calm, deliberate. But you don't get access to me anymore. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her tears fell faster. You're walking away? Yes, I said simply. I'm walking toward my life now. She fell silent, the sound of her sobs filling the space between us. I didn't flinch. I didn't turn back. I didn't offer comfort, not because I was cruel, but because I had already chosen. The weight lifted immediately. The burden I had carried for months, years even, felt as though a mountain had been removed from my chest. Breathing became easier. My chest expanded, my shoulders loosened, and the tension in my hands melted away. Armin, she whispered, almost broken, please, just... I shook my head. No. I won't be part of that anymore. I turned, stepping outside. The world seemed sharper, cleaner, brighter than it had in years. Every step I took felt lighter, freer. My past was behind me. The chains of guilt, of pain, of manipulation, they all stayed behind that closed door. Sarah was waiting on the street, leaning casually against the railing of the cafe. Her eyes met mine, concerned but calm. She didn't rush toward me. She didn't try to hug me or speak over the moment. She simply stood there, her presence steady, offering a quiet kind of support. I approached her slowly. I did it, I said, voice low. I walked away. I didn't fight. I didn't retaliate. I just, you let go, she said softly. That's the hardest thing to do. And you did it. I exhaled a long, deep breath. I feel lighter. Freed. Like I've been carrying a mountain I didn't even realize was on me. She nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. You've been strong for so long, but this is strength of a different kind. The kind that saves you, not destroys you. I laughed softly, almost in disbelief. I didn't think letting go could feel this powerful, this clean. She stepped beside me, not holding my hand, not forcing connection. Just there. Present. Solid. Safe. And that was enough. I was afraid, I admitted, voice quiet. Afraid that without revenge, without making them pay, I'd feel hollow. But I don't. I feel free. I feel like I can finally breathe. You can, she said simply. And you will. You've earned it. You've earned yourself. The city moved around us. People passed, cars honked, lights glimmered. But none of it touched me. I felt detached in a way that was healthy, not empty. My life finally felt like mine again. I looked back once at the apartment, at Meher's blurred figure in the window, still crying. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel guilt. I just felt resolved. Turning forward, I felt the weight of my decision, heavy and freeing all at once. I had chosen life, not vengeance. I had chosen myself. And for the first time in a long time, I breathed freely, fully, completely. Sarah fell into step beside me, quiet, patient, offering nothing but her presence. That was all I needed. That was enough. I stepped forward into the night, into my new life, and for the first time in years, I felt whole. I sit on the balcony, night settling over the city like a velvet sheet. Lights flicker in windows, cars hum along the streets below. I breathe deeply, letting the air fill my lungs, and I think back to everything that brought me here. Betrayal first and foremost. Meher. A deal. The lies, the manipulations, the quiet poisons I didn't see until it was too late. I remember the nights I cried alone, the messages I sent and never received, the moments I begged for love that was never mine. I don't understand why you left, a voice whispers in my memory, hers. I thought we had something real. I shake my head, quietly amused at the thought of that boy I once was. Something real. I said, voice low in my own ears. You never wanted real. You wanted control. You wanted power. And you took it from me without care. I remember a deal too, desperate and loud, trying to stake a claim in my life I no longer offered. Armin, don't shut me out, he had shouted once, anger and fear tangled in his voice. I walked past him. I didn't even look back. I didn't have to. My silence said more than any words ever could. And in walking away I found myself. Or rather, I rebuilt myself. The man I am now, silent, sharp, strong, powerful, is not the boy who once crumbled over someone else's whims. I carry control like armor. I speak with precision. I act with intention. Do you ever miss who you were? Sarah asked one evening, her voice soft, honest. I do, I admitted. But I also know I could never survive that version of me again. He would have died under the weight of betrayal. This version survives. Thrives. She studied me for a long moment. And the cost? I let a pause hang. He's gone. He doesn't exist anymore. And with him went my softness, my forgiveness, my openness to being hurt. The cost was my warmth, my innocence, my trust. The reward is me. Sometimes I wonder if I like the man I've become. Coldness seeps into my bones like winter frost, but it protects me. It shields me from repeating mistakes, from letting anyone see the fractures beneath. And sometimes, I admit quietly, it feels intoxicating. Power, control, silence, they are my weapons but also my companions. Meher exists somewhere, filled with regret, I am told. Her name comes up rarely, a whisper among neighbors or friends. I feel no triumph, no schadenfreude. Only clarity. Her choices are hers to bear. She is no longer mine to undo. A deal? Irrelevant. Gone from memory almost as easily as he vanished from life. I never chase him. I don't need to. His absence is a quiet reminder of the life I refuse to live again. Sarah walks beside me now, always gently, never forcing. She sees the cracks I hide, the cold I wear, but she also sees the flicker I allow her to see. She does not demand more than I can give. That's why I let her in just enough, cautiously, carefully. I rise higher each day, career, confidence, self-possession. My reflection no longer scares me. I accept the man in the mirror. Not the one who cried or begged, not the one who let love hurt him, not the boy who imagined forgiveness was enough to hold someone. That man is gone. And maybe that is okay. Maybe being strong, silent, tempered by betrayal, reshaped by fire, that is the life I was meant to live. I look at the city below, at the world sprawling in lights and motion, and I realize something. Everything I lost, everything I endured, everything I survived, it built me into this version of myself. Punishment and victory rolled into one. Bitter, yes, but clear. I breathe in the night, letting it settle in my lungs. My hands rest lightly on the railing. My chest expands with the quiet rhythm of life moving forward. And in that stillness I speak to no one but myself. I am not the man I used to be, and I finally see that's enough.